everyone. I am Chris Williams, and I am a Chef in Residence Fellow here in the Kellogg's Center for Culinary Innovation. Today, we are having a discussion that is quite personal to me, being Black, queer, and hungry. As we embark on this journey of diversity, inclusivity, and cultural relevance through food, one question does come to mind. What role does the queer community play in the food industry? And is there a such thing as queer food? We should think about ways where queer food is represented. Have you watched the TV show Pose? Or have you been to a pride parade? These are in some form centered around food and the connection between people that nourishment and caring for a chosen family provides. But there, in fact, is more to the story here. Queer folks have always been a critical identity serving the food industry here in the US. But we still see limited representation at a larger scale within the food and hospitality industry, especially within intersectional identities. From farm workers, chefs, bartenders, media experts, and even in corporate environments, we begin to bridge the gap and create a platform for queer expression through food and to advocate for more inclusive queer industry spaces. Black queerness has always existed, and without many Black queer pioneers like Marsha P. Johnson and James Baldwin, who have paved the way and still make an impact in the food business, I bring to you a few industry professionals who continue to break down barriers and create safe spaces for themselves and others to not only be seen, but to speak loudly and proudly and allow us to have a place at the table.
Queer food is authentic, heartfelt, and exciting.
Queer food itself is the person creating that food.
I think queer food is comforting. I think it's fun. And I think it is sassy. And when I say sassy, I mean like the flavors pop. There's a balance in salt, sweet, savory.
I would definitely start with the safe space because if people are able to come into spaces and see that they exist, I think that would open their minds into knowing that they can own and create a space like that for themselves.
If you have more queer-owned businesses, it rolls over into safe spaces for queer people.
History has shown that the only way really change has been made is when we create the change. So I think we have to create those spaces.
But I would say that Black spaces owned by Black queer people are incredibly important. It gives safe spaces for people that can be marginalized within their communities because not all communities are very accepting of those people. There's no other way for people to learn more about what they don't know besides in safe spaces. And I think those spaces are most and best curated by the people that live within them.
The most important thing is just understanding that we are just ourselves and we just so happen to love who we love, and to be able to be accepted just as that and to be able to let that shine through, I think has, number one, been the first thing that has propelled myself and my business, is that what you see is what you're going to get. It's not a gimmick. It's not anything other than a Black female lesbian making delicious food.
Because I was not afraid to be feminine and live in my own femininity in this space that is largely male, right? And so I learned to be comfortable because I accepted my womanhood for what it was, but then I let that allow me to find the voice that I needed to have in the kitchen.
Do I feel like I have a seat at the table? No, but the events that I've done and the people I worked for in the past have kind of given me the upper hand. But as far as actually having a seat at the table, I'm still picking up scraps myself.
While I'm fighting for my place, I do know whatever levels I get to, it makes it a little easier for the next person. The same way people have, blazed trails for me to get into some of the spaces that I've gotten to. Don't limit yourself as far as your sexuality, anything like that. Just, set the goals and work towards it.
As you see for some of these chefs, We are still fighting for a seat at the table. But thinking of my own story and how relevant the narrative of queer food is, I think about this opportunity. As the first chef in residence, being Black and queer, I now have a platform and a seat at the table to bring this discussion to life. Through many experiences, I have been able to set myself up for success by seeking opportunities and making myself known in this industry without forgetting my own story of authenticity and who I am. You know, all the things that make me, me. As we continue to bring to life the narrative for other queer people who have a story to tell that does not only resonate with the struggles of queer people in the industry, but the triumphs and strives we have made to create safe spaces for one another and our community and celebrate our liberation through food. Through food, we celebrate our individuality, authenticity, and overall narrative that we too belong and still contribute to the food industry.
Before you can even get to queer, you just have to understand that this industry is mostly taken over by cisgender white men. And so just the fact that people from all walks of life are starting to break into the industry and make a name for themselves, whether they be queer, whether they be female, whether they be minority. You know, I think anything outside of like French cuisine is is kind of a feat in itself. So I think just the fact that we're able to even have that category says enough.
One queer chef that I can think of off the top of my mind is Lazarus Lynch. And they were able to cater the Met Gala. And they were the first Black queer chef to do such a thing. And that's a huge space to be in. And in order to be in that atmosphere and be able to actually succeed, then I mean that, you know, that sheds light on Black queer chefs.
When I did make the decision to go to culinary school, it was literally working with all chefs of color. Most of my educators were chefs of color. There were only a handful of them that were not. And then the chefs that they brought in to work with us as students were chefs of color. And I found it to be so encouraging to have that kind of energy around me, and it motivated me. And there were people of all, you know, sexual orientations around, you know, but the fact that I was surrounded by people of color learning how to cook was incredibly meaningful. And that really propelled me into wanting to create change within the industry at the very core level. Like, food is everywhere. It's in every relationship that I have. It's my love language. It's how we celebrate. It's how we mourn. It's how we do anything. And it's such an important piece of my life and the lives of the people around me.
It's a happy time when food is around. Like, I'm happy. Like, sadly, I'm an emotional eater.
My wife especially loves the science behind food and has made me kind of appreciate and understand it. She will rally, you know, she will put her picket sign and stand up on her soapbox of how disconnected we are from food and just earth and growing, and just knowing that, you know, how you get food in the grocery store is not how it comes. That certainly plays a part in us kind of giving that knowledge out and bringing people back to the connection of food and good food at that.
My partner is into French food. My son is into Asian food. And my truth is being able to create dishes that are that take pieces of what all of us love, with my passion being Cajun and Creole cuisine, and making something delicious.
Being able to just freely create and freely just do me, that helps there. So, and that also translates to my food in the sense of, like, I get a chance to really take my time and create a really well-composed plate when it comes to flavors and presentation. So I try not to stick in the norm. So when it comes to the unicorn, you know, it shows into my presentations as well. So it's not just food, it's the way it presents to the person that's getting ready to eat.
Our food is bright, it's vibrant, it's sexy, it's flavorful, it's delicious, and it's made with care. And I know it speaks to who we are, not only as lesbians, but as Black people, and just people in general. Wouldn't say that my experience with other queer people has necessarily changed our food outlook. I would say people of all kinds, but I definitely think in the events and food that we serve at queer events, and that are directed to our family, is we try to make sure that it's always family style because we are a family.
If anything, I would say it reinforced my belief that they need to see other people doing different things. Seeing different people is as often as you can see a different type of view, the more you're able to accept other things and be more open-minded.
Food point of view is less so influenced as much as it is my cooking style. And my cooking style really shifts. I draw influence from everyone around me. And so, I've had plenty of cooking partners who cooked very Californian and very light, and that is very contrary to my very French love and heart. And it's all about a collaboration and figuring out what makes most sense between the two of you and how you're serving that food to other people. But absolutely, collaboration and influence from everywhere is always important to put on a plate.
In the beginning, I asked, is there a such thing as queer food? Well, in an article written on eater.com by Kyle Raymond Fitzpatrick, he helps answer the question what queer food is. He explains, queer food isn't a rainbow cupcake. It is less about what is eaten rather than just the presence of queer people at the table. Queer food is the food of a temporary utopia, one where unexpected eating styles and culinary creativity thrive, where things that seem too weird to work actually do. And in a recent Food and Wine Roundtable, as part of the Queerest Food Conversation, John Carter Ayana sparks a celebratory discussion in which role food plays in LGBTQIA+ communities. In that discussion, she stated that visibility is a big part of queer food, especially in spaces where we don't feel seen. Cooking itself is an art, and it's a way for us to express ourselves. Queer people have been known to experiment, not only with sexual identity or gender expression, but with fashion, art, music, language, and most deliciously, food. Our experimentation with food has coincided with our resistance to the status quo, and it has transformed culinary trends and innovations as we know them today.
I would invite Oprah because Oprah likes food and she likes to eat. And she obviously has good conversation. I would invite Beyonce because she likes fried chicken, and you can only trust people that really appreciate fried chicken. You, because you make these lemon blueberry Pop-Tarts that made me incredibly happy, and everyone needs them in their life. Emeril Lagasse, because he is like the current king of Cajun and Creole cooking, and I know that I would eat very well. That leaves me at 4. I'm going to go with 5 and say Michael Twitty. He's a queer Black chef. I watched him on High on the Hog. To be able to cook with him and feed all those people at our dream dinner party would make me very happy.
Parents, Whitney Houston, Amy Winehouse, Tamar Braxton.
Dwayne and Gabrielle Union. I just love them. I love how they share their children with the world in a positive light, in a different light. Carla Rockamore, through the pandemic, just started going through her closet. And she has all these amazing clothes and an impeccable style. As far as those other 2 seats, it's whoever has good vibes, good energy, and you're more than welcome at the table.
Because we believe that tacos create community. So if I could serve my tacos to anyone in time, I mean, we would have to go way, way back. I'm talking about our Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth. Like that's where I'm going, because just the power and the stories that you could probably learn from those women would be unmatched. And I wish to carry that strength in all that I do. And so if I could sit around the dinner table with them, that would be phenomenal.
I want to send a huge thank you to each chef for taking the time and express to us what they think queer food is. And I want to thank you all for watching this discussion. And thank you to K Pride and CARG for helping sponsor and support this event and bring it to life for every queer person involved. Please send your questions or comments to Benjamin Shore, Mark Graham, and myself. And once again, thank you. Finally, please join me on my final broadcast as we will be looking at a year at a glance as the first Chef in Residence Fellow on March 29th.